My boyfriend Justin, 26 male, and I, 23F, have been a couple for just over 7 months but started dating a couple months before that. So in all I've known him less than a year and I'm already head over heels for him and feel like I've known him forever. I know it's still our honeymoon phase, but I've genuinely never felt this strongly about another guy before, and have definitely never thought as long-term as I'm thinking with him. Justin is confident, charismatic, passionate and driven, intelligent and emotionally mature, values his family, is especially kind to children and elderly people, and just has a presence that lights up the room. It also doesn't hurt that he's 6 feet 1 inch, handsome, has a yummy body, and is an amazing lover. Anyway, lol, the only real problem in our relationship, from my point of view, is his friendship with Olivia, 24/F, who has known since her first year of university, 6 years. BF is smart with women, used to attention, and doesn't cross boundaries with them. The only time he comes close is with Olivia, and even then, it's mostly her initiating things, but the way she behaves around him is honestly the #1 source of conflict in our relationship. I am quite friendly with Justin's circle of friends now and I hang out with them at least once per week, so things can be pretty uncomfortable for me. Things that make me uncomfortable: she is exactly my BF's type, not really her fault I know. I have seen a few girls that my BF has been with from his social media, and they all look more or less like Olivia. She's 170 centimeters, 5'8", athletically built, has cat eyes and a pout-y mouth, and just gives off a sexy aura. I'm 162 centimeters, 5'3", in shape, and have a decent face but 1, it bothers me that I'm nothing close to Justin's type and 2, that Olivia is his type. Olivia has always been nice enough to me, but when I first met her she gave me an eyebrows raised, let's see how long you last kind of look. I admit that I could be overthinking this one. She's always finding excuses to touch Justin. An example is brushing food off of his clothes/face, hello, that's my job, or fixing his shirt collar. She also likes to give him back hugs. Once, she hugged him from behind and I overheard her saying, "How come you never give me back hugs anymore?" The way she said it was low and whispery and rubbed me the wrong way. I'm 99% sure an objective passerby could have interpreted her tone as seductive. When I brought it up to Justin, all he said was, "Yeah, that was weird I guess." She has this cute act that she does for Justin when he doesn't want to do something for her. Sometimes, this is probably weird in itself, she'll ask him to buy her something, like an ice cream, and when he says no, she'll stand in front of him and pout and make deer eyes. Or sometimes she just grabs him and pushes him towards whatever she wants, points to it, and does the cutesy act. She greets him by saying, "Hey, you," and winking and pretend shooting him. Justin only listens to Olivia. He's a pretty stubborn guy and doesn't really follow others, unless it's Olivia. One of the things that bothers me the most in this regard is an incident that happened in a club. Justin and I were drinking with his friends, when another group of people got in an argument with some of Justin's guy friends. Justin tried to defuse the situation at first, but the other guys were extremely disrespectful and he was on the verge of fighting 3 guys at once. I kept telling him to leave them alone, but he just wouldn't back down, even after the bartender threatened to call the police. Then Olivia walks over to him, pulls him by the arm and yells at him, "Stop, you're acting stupid." She dragged him to the bar and they were talking there alone for 15 minutes. I know I probably should have went and checked on him, but I was pretty shocked/angry considering what just happened. One of Justin's friends noticed me watching and told me, "Don't feel bad. It's always been this way with them," which obviously made me feel worse. Yesterday we went to dinner with his friends. The day was pretty warm, so Justin was only wearing a t-shirt, but by the time we finished it was windy and quite a bit colder. We decided to take a walk along the Riverwalk, and Olivia suddenly wrapped her cardigan around my BF's shoulders. He started joking around and posing like a model before giving it back, but I kind of wish he would have just given it back to her right away. There are a lot of these kinds of instances where Olivia will do small, caring things for him, things that a GF does. My woman's intuition just tells me that Olivia wants more from Justin than he's giving her. She's sarcastic and rude to him half the time because that's their dynamic/her personality. However, when he's not paying attention to her, I sometimes catch her stealing glances at him. Sometimes she looks smitten, sometimes she looks straight up lustful, and sometimes she looks sad. I think it's obvious she has feelings for him, but when I brought it up with my BF he told me they were just close. There is much more to add, but I'm just going to end with this. I understand that some people are natural flirts, but Olivia doesn't act like this to any other guys in their group. Her personality is pretty strong. She's sarcastic and relentlessly teases them, but no touching, no cutesy act, none of the small, thoughtful stuff, and definitely none of the misty-eyed gazes. Some of the guys even jokingly complain that they're jealous that she only acts like a girl to Justin. Yesterday, after the cardigan thing, when Justin dropped me off I asked him to talk because I've been growing more insecure about his friendship with Olivia. We talked in my apartment for around 1 hour about it and didn't really make any progress. Basically, he agreed not to meet Olivia alone, but said that she was important to him, told me some things they helped each other get through in university, and that he wanted her in his life. I tried to initiate sex with him after that, but he said he was tired and left. I cried after that and called my older sister and talked about the situation. She told me that since Justin hasn't done anything to break my trust, that I should continue trusting him and that there's a reason he's with me and not Olivia. She also said that if he crosses the line, I need to be strong enough to leave him. I also called my best friend this morning. She, on the other hand, is convinced that Justin and Olivia were or are more than just close. She thinks I need to give him an ultimatum, choose the friendship or the relationship. Basically, I'm at a loss for what to do now. I love Justin and really think we have a future together, but this friendship with Olivia is driving me crazy. Is this just jealousy / my insecurities, or do I really need to give my BF an ultimatum? I really like him, but I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable in this relationship as long as Olivia is a part of his life. Edit. Thank you all for your replies. I tried to respond to as many as possible. In reading your comments, my own post and some self-reflecting, I realized that a lot of the issue has to do with my insecurities / fears about what could be happening or what may happen in the future. I don't know why it's been so hard for me to stop rationalizing these fears and accept that they aren't indicative of what actually is happening. That being said, though I realize that a lot of the points of discomfort I've felt are purely a result of my gut feelings, there are still several things that Olivia does with my BF that are personally not okay with me. I understand that it was wrong of me to even entertain the thought of asking Justin to distance himself from her. But at the same time, if they really are that close and nothing farther than platonic feelings are being shared, I think that my BF shouldn't have a problem establishing within reason boundaries with a female friend whose behavior makes his GF uncomfortable, and that female friend should understand and respect those wishes. I understand that some of the things that bother me, like her cute act or some of her other affectionate gestures, might just be part of her personality towards him, and that I'll probably just have to suck it up and deal with it. But for me, it's within reason for him to ask that she cut out the intimate physical stuff like the back hugs, grabbing his arm incessantly, brushing his hair / face, clothes, etc. Justin and I haven't talked much today, but I'm meeting him later tonight and I will tell him exactly what I've written above. I'm not going to ask him to stop being friends with her, and I'm not going to ask her to distance himself from her. I'm also going to ask him to clarify some things for me, like the extent of their physical relationship / if there's any romantic history between them that I'm not aware of. Some people might have a problem with this, but I think that given the nature of their relationship / the fact that they see each other so often, he should be transparent about it. I think this conversation will help me decide whether a compromise can be made and I can learn to deal with their friendship healthfully, or if I will have to do the hard thing and walk away, which I really don't want to do. Update 1. I met Justin the night after I added the edit to the original post, with the intentions of telling him that I was wrong for wanting him to distance himself from Olivia, but that I wanted for him to ask that she tone down the physical intimacy, and 2, that he disclose the extent of their relationship in the past, i.e., how far their physical relationship has gone, if either of them has confessed romantic feelings, which was something I previously wondered about but always avoided asking him. That talk didn't go as planned at all. I thought he was going to be understanding of me and honest about his feelings, but he stonewalled me and was super rude and an all-around asshole to me. As soon as I brought up Olivia, he laughed and shook his head and asked me if I was really gonna do this shit again. I tried my best not to get emotional and just explain my point of view. The whole time he was leaning his head against the wall, didn't make eye contact, and was playing with his earrings. So when I asked if he understood my feelings and was okay with what I was asking of him, he smiled sarcastically and said, "Of course, honey," with a fake tone. He was extremely angry when I asked if they have hooked up before. His exact words were, "You haven't even been my GF for a year. If you think you're entitled to know every little detail from my past, fuck yourself." He walked out after saying that, and I cried. He'd never talked to me like that or expressed anger towards me before. I was shocked, hurt and angry. Obviously he was hiding something. I didn't know if something had happened between them or he had feelings for her or what, but I wanted to talk with him again, so I messaged him telling him I wasn't trying to make him mad, but that I felt like we needed to talk again. He didn't reply to my messages that night, and the next morning he still hadn't replied. I never thought I would do this, but I sent Olivia a message asking to meet for a coffee. Surprisingly, she answered almost immediately and agreed to meet in the afternoon. When we met, I told her about my feelings about their relationship, how Justin had reacted the other night, and straight up asked her if there was any romantic feelings between them. She admitted that she has feelings for Justin, but that it was complicated. She said she loves him and hates him at the same time. She told me that I should leave him, that she wasn't just saying that because she wants to be with him instead of me, but that it was because Justin has always been a player, has been charming and leaving girls for years, that she's waited for him to change, that she knew she could never be truly happy staying by his side as a friend, that she should leave him too, but couldn't. I thought she might try to BS me, but she seemed very sincere when saying these things. I asked her what the extent of their relationship was like in the past, and she told me that basically, she was attracted to Justin at first sight when they first met in university, but that Justin had a long-distance GF at the time. Justin broke up with his LDGF, they got closer, Justin had some problems, she wouldn't tell me what they were, that he counseled to her about. This led to them kissing one night and having sex. That was her first time. She confessed feelings to Justin, but he said he didn't want their friendship to be affected if the relationship didn't work out. They were on and off FWBs throughout college. Justin had a handful of short-lived relationships during that time and he cheated on one of his GFs with Olivia. She claimed at this point that they haven't had sex since he's been in a relationship with me. I'd quit to believe. When they graduated, their friend group rented a vacation pension on an island. One night their friend Ashley walks in on them in the bathroom. Justin told Ashley that it was a drunk mistake. Olivia was extremely hurt and refused to see or speak to Justin for weeks. After being ignored, Justin apologizes to her, tells her he has feelings for her, and they go on a few secret dates, but Justin never commits to a relationship and then backtracks and says he's confused about his feelings, not ready for anything serious. From that point on, they went back to being FWBs until Justin met me. I'm a little confused and skeptical as to why she's told me all this, so I ask if she has any proof. She searches chat logs and shows me multiple messages of him booty calling her. She starts getting emotional and tells me that Justin has amazing qualities but that he has some deep personal issues that he refuses to work on that prevent him from being a good partner right now. I asked her what she meant, but she wouldn't tell me. I could tell that she cares about him a lot. She's been single this whole time. There were likely many opportunities for her to end up in a happy relationship, but she turned a blind eye to them all for Justin, who can't even admit that he has feelings for her. Even though I didn't like some of the things she did before, I actually sympathize with her a lot. It sounds like Justin put her through a ton of shit, given her false hope and taken it away, and she's always stayed by him for whatever reason. After, she tells me not to worry about throwing her under the bus because she was going to tell Justin herself that she told me about them. She said she wanted him to be mad at her. Later that night Justin called me trying to explain himself to me, but I broke up with him. I was crying on the phone. I really didn't want to break up, but I knew it was the right thing for me to do, regardless of what was true or false about his past. It was just too much drama for me to handle, and the way he reacted to me when I had originally wanted to talk to him scared me. He didn't try to fight me or ask me to say. We just kind of sat in silence on the phone for a while before hung up. It's been about 2 weeks since then. I know that Justin was probably a bad boy and it was only a matter of time before he broke my heart, but I feel devastated. I'm just starting to be able to get back into my normal routines, but even then sometimes it's just so hard to get out of bed. I think about Justin every day. It's like the more I'm away from him, the more I think about the good things we had together. I miss his smell, his laugh, his touch, just being able to be with him whenever I want. Part of me hoped he would reach out to me, but he hasn't. I met Olivia last week and she told me that Justin wasn't talking to her anymore, and that it was probably a good time for her to move on from him. My ass. Last night I saw Olivia uploaded a couple Y picture of her and Justin on Instagram. They were in a nightclub or some dark place. He had his arm wrapped around her with a drink in that hand and she was sipping from the straw. I know it was a mistake not to block/unfollow Justin and his friends. After I saw that, I blocked and unfollowed them all. That was kind of what inspired me to post an update. I don't know if Olivia played me or if Justin is working his magic on her again, but I just feel shitty all around. It hurts, no, but I know these people would have been toxic for me if I had stayed with him. It just hurts so much more than I'd imagined. Now on to second story. Wife chose her career over our marriage. I waited for our kids' stability before filing for divorce, and now her family blames me. My ex-wife and I were married for over 20 years and have 2 children together, 22 male and 20 F. For most of my marriage, things were pretty balanced. We both shared housework and childcare responsibilities. We were each stay-at-home parents for over a year after each child, her with our son and me with our son and daughter. We always had agreements on how we wanted to divide work and generally had decent communication. This changed when my oldest went to high school. My wife got a new job that was both very demanding on her time and was 50% travel. This meant that I had to handle everything about 2 weeks per month, and when she was home she wasn't holding up her side of the work with agreements. I did my best to be accommodating and we worked through redistributing chores/housework a few times to make it fit her schedule better, but a lot of the work just kept falling to me. When the pandemic happened, things got worse, but I tried to just suck it up because I knew the lockdowns were temporary. Finally, when things opened back up, things continued to decline and I asked to go to counseling. She missed a lot of our meetings and just didn't commit to it. At this point I decided that I wanted a divorce. Unfortunately, it was a really tough time for the family. My son was getting ready for college in person after his freshman year being remote, which was both financial and logistical challenge. At the same time my daughter was also having some issues with depression and I had become her main support person with my wife gone half the time. I made a decision to wait until my daughter was in a better mental state and our family was in a financially stable place before I filed for divorce. I did my best to continue to contribute and was essentially a single parent for 3 years. On a few occasions I brought up counseling again, but my wife said things were good and wouldn't go. We pretty much didn't have sex for that period of time, and there was one summer where she essentially moved to North Carolina for 6 weeks for work. She came home on some weekends. Last year, after my daughter started sophomore year of college and she was in a better place mentally and emotionally, I sold off some of my stock investments to create a trust for my kids to ensure college was covered. Then I filed for divorce. At first my wife was really pissed, then she left to live in North Carolina again. When she came back 4 weeks later, she said she wanted to work through it, but I told her I had made the decision to leave years ago and wasn't interested. We eventually worked through mediation and got an amicable divorce. My kids live with me now and support me, but all of my in-laws and even most of my family outside of my sister think I'm asshole. They believe I should have forced the issue more when we started counseling and either divorced or made it clearer to my wife how important counseling was to me. They've called me selfish and some of my in-laws are refusing to interact with my kids when they're at my house. For example, my daughter FaceTimed her grandmother once this summer and she hung up once she saw that my daughter was at my house. They also created a bit of a scene at my son's graduation in the spring, refusing to acknowledging me and demanding that my son choose to celebrate with them or me rather than having dinner together as a group. I encouraged my son to go with them and we had our own celebration later, but something happened at the dinner and my son has lived with me and been almost no contact with them since. I honestly feel like I did what was best for my kids, but now it feels like their mom's family is punishing them and I feel like a terrible father. I admit that it might have been more mature to address the issue head on with my relationship with my ex, but I felt that it was about more than just the two of us. Frankly, I feel like my lack of backbone years ago has made this divorce worse for my kids, but I also believe that if I had to do it again, I would still prioritize my kids over my own feelings and make the same choice. Ida? I've seen a few comments come up multiple times, so I figure it's worth answering them here before I move on. 1. This is an account I created to ask an embarrassing dating question earlier this year. I created it because my main username is recognizable and I reused it now because I don't really want to air my issues associated with a known username. 2. When my wife took the job, we were doing well financially, but the job still came with a big raise. I was making about $200,000 and the job she took gave her a raise from about $80,000 to $140,000. That was enough that we could go from saving enough to have an emergency fund to having enough to pay for our kids' college outright. We both work in tech, but she works for a defense contractor and some of the work needs to be done on site and only one of the offices related to her work is near where we live. When we originally discussed the job, her plan was to work in the high travel role for some time, then try to transfer to a lower travel role based near us. She got promoted a few times and staying near our home wasn't an option unless she took a bit pay and title cut. When we divorced I was making about $280,000 and she made a little over $300,000. Some folks were also confused by my stock comment. I'm a software engineer for a big tech company and about 20 to 30% of my salary comes in the form of RSUs, restricted stock units. I'm not an investor by any means, and I was just selling off stock mostly to cover my daughter's college and pay off what debt my son had. 3. I know a lot of people are jumping right to an affair, but I really doubt it. In school, my wife and I were the obnoxious kids who reminded the teacher about homework and she's a massive introvert. Her working late in a hotel room is much more likely than her sleeping around or keeping some secret family. There's a chance I'm wrong here, but I think this is more a situation where Reddit sometimes thinks all divorces end with infidelity. 4. When I say we had an amicable divorce, I mean that more in the legal sense than the emotional sense. Uncontested might be a better term. The only significant asset we had that wasn't easily split was our home. My wife loves the house and I frankly wanted something different, so she bought out my portion of it. Our kids are adults, so there's no custody. Our assets are mostly divisible, so no issues there. Our salaries were comparable, so there was no alimony. We each had a car. Overall, it was pretty straightforward to divide things evenly and neither of us wanted to draw things out. We didn't end the marriage as friends by any means, but from a legal standpoint it was amicable because we decided on arrangement with a mediator and only involved lawyers briefly to actually draft the final paperwork for the judge to sign off on. Update 1. Quick summary of the original post. My wife became more and more distant in our marriage and I decided to get a divorce, but I waited about 3 years to do it after I decided because I felt it was best for the kids. My kids chose to live with me and generally were on my side, but my in-laws and family were pretty mad at me. Things are going much better overall since the post. I got a lot of support, but also a lot of criticism which I took to heart. I have been putting in some work to mend fences and help get things to a more reasonable state. I don't expect my ex or her family to be friends with me, but I at least want to be on good terms. My relationship with my parents and family is much better and this Christmas was pretty much back to normal. My family is very conservative especially when it comes to marriage, but they finally understand how bad it had become and have reluctantly accepted. My relationship with my ex and more importantly her relationship with our kids has also improved. She has apparently been going to therapy on her own and while she hasn't gone into details she does seem to be a lot less angry about what happened. We decided to have Thanksgiving together so we could all talk through things with the kids. It was a bit messy and there were a lot of tears, but we also got to a place where we all understand each other a bit more. We all agree that I shouldn't have waited so long to go through with the divorce, but my ex and kids also say they understand why I did it. My ex-wife and I even had a conversation about dating, which was weird but surprisingly kind of nice. My ex-in-laws still think I'm a horrible person and most refuse to talk to me, but they have started treating my kids well. My kids went to the in-laws' place for Christmas Eve and told me went okay. We talked about it on Christmas and while they didn't give many details they did say they planned to do something on New Year's Eve with my ex and the in-laws, so I'm happy about that. Sorry this isn't a juicy update with anything crazy, but I was bored during the holiday downtime and thought I would log in and post some details. One thing I've learned from this, and I hope others learn too, even if your heart's in the right place, it's probably better to divorce when the marriage is over, rather than putting up a facade for years. I don't regret getting a divorce, but I do wish I hadn't waited 3 years when I knew it was over.